Welcome back to a brand new video. In this one, I'm going to go over how to automatically reply to any new Google My Business reviews that come in. I'm going to show you two different ways how to do this. The first one is going to be super simple setup if you already use GoHighLevel, which is a super popular CRM and automation software, but it is also less customizable and can be pretty generic. The second version is actually going to be using Zapier, which is an alternative. I think it's the most popular version of Make Automation if you're familiar with that. It does take a bit more setup, but it's also so much more customizable, and you can really basically input ChatGPT into your Google My Business reviews. Let's jump straight into version 1 because that is the simpler and faster one to set up. Now, from your GoHighLevel account that you want to enable this on, the first thing I'm actually going to ask you to do is to go to the agency view. Now, we work with a lot of contractors, so I'm going to assume you are one. And once you click on the top left, if you see a button that says agency view, click on that. And then you're going to want to see all of the sub accounts that you have. Now, if this is for yourself, you should only have one. If you're an agency watching this video, then this is where all of your clients' accounts would be. What you're going to want to click on is the little settings button on the bottom left. There's going to be a button right here that says Reviews AI. This is what you want to enable on each account that you want the AI reviews to be enabled. This is blue, you're good to go. Now, as far as pricing goes, it's barely anything. It's around 8 cents per review generation, so negligible at best. Now, once this is enabled, you can go ahead back into your agency account, or you can go back into your sub account, which in this case is our own account. And now you're going to want to, first of all, if it's not already done, connect your Google My Business. So I've already done it, so I can't redo it. But if there's a little button here that says connect, simply sign in with the Google account that's connected to your Google My Business, and that will take care of that. Once that's done, head over into reputation at the bottom left. And then if you go into settings, you should see 3 separate versions or 3 separate options for Reviews AI. If you didn't select, by the way, the agency view, if you didn't turn this on, this will not be here. So you have 3 options. Either turn it off completely, either it will give you suggestions on what to respond to people, or lastly, it will actually completely automatically respond to any new reviews that come in. To set this up using the auto responses, simply select the source, in our case it's Google. You can set it to only respond to 5 stars and above, or 4 stars above, 3 stars, etc. You give it an amount of time before you want it to actually respond to make it seem a bit more human. And then you have a footer, which is basically whatever the response is. I always want the last word to be X. In this case, we have it as thanks. You can make it as thank you. You can have your name, for example, that type of thing. Once you press save here, that's pretty much it. You now have an automatic responder to any new reviews that come in. The second version, which if you want to be a bit more careful with what you're sending out, it will actually just suggest responses. And here's an example of that. So if I go to my reviews and I scroll down, this is what the type of reviews that it will generate. Here, thanks for your positive feedback. We're delighted to hear about our team's commitment to ensuring your satisfaction exceeds your expectations, etc. Now, as you can see, these are pretty generic. You can also regenerate them, but they all kind of go along the same lines. They'll hopefully refer to what the customer said, but realistically, they're just saying thanks. But if you're simply looking to have something that works, this is a fantastic option. And if you already have HighLevel, it doesn't cost you anything to just set this up. Now, if you want the link, by the way, to this HighLevel, or if you're not exactly sure what this is, I've made other videos about it. And if you want the link to the specific template with the roofing snapshot and the automation and all that good stuff, the link will be somewhere in the description. But let's jump back into a more complex version of this system. And we are now in Zapier. Now, this is actually pretty straightforward to set up. And I already have a version here. If you want to go create this from scratch, literally what I did for this was, let me go back here. All I typed in was literally just this: automatically reply to Google My Business reviews using ChatGPT. And if I do try again, it's going to generate me basically a templated version of what it thinks the steps should be. And just like that, it says step 1, the trigger is going to be new review. Step 2 is going to be ChatGPT or generate a response. And then step 3 is going to be to actually send that response over back to Google My Business to reply to the customer. That's it. That's how simple it was to set up. It just takes a bit because it takes a bit more effort since you have to connect each account. So if I go in the new review in Google My Business, you simply have to connect your account. You have to set the trigger as a new review, and then you can test it. The second part, which is a bit more, which is by far the most complex one, is the ChatGPT element. But like before, all you have to do is go into your account. It's going to say sign in, and then it's going to ask you for two things. The first one is going to be an API key, and the second one is going to be an organization ID. Here's how you get both. Now, the organization ID is super simple to get. Simply go to platform.openai.com and scroll down to settings, and you're going to find something that says organization. This is your organization ID. That's part one. Part two is going to be an actual API key, which is going to be specific for each, and you can create multiple of these. To find your API key or to create a new one, simply scroll a bit higher where it says API keys, and then scroll down until you find a button that says create new secret key. Once you're here, you can create one and call it GMB reviews, and you can create a new secret key. Now, simply copy that and input it back in under account. I'm not going to show it because it has my actual API keys, but those are the only two identification numbers or credentials that you need in order to connect OpenAI or ChatGPT with Zapier. Once you've connected both of those, you can go into action. And this is literally just, I would just suggest copying and pasting this, but here's what this says. You are applying to a review left for our roofing company named, and as a placeholder, we've called it ALLMYTE Roofing. If the amount of stars is 4 or above, simply thank them and reference any praises they gave us. You are speaking as a rep for the company. Keep it short, keep it human. Only refer to the customer by their first name. If you don't know it, don't refer to it at all. This is to avoid any weird usernames and then like it inputs them as thanks X35T. Like it doesn't seem very, very human, does it? And the three variables we gave it are the reviewer name, the review itself, and then the amount of stars that it has. And these little weird boxes here, these are simply placeholders or variables for Zapier. So each time this runs, these will be different, but none of this text will be. This is all going to be the same except for these boxes because this will be dependent on the review itself, right? Because your reviewer name is going to change. This one is one name, the other one it might be something else. Once you have that, you can change the model, which is simply what type of GPT do you want to use. The memory key you can ignore, username as well. The only thing that we've changed is the max tokens. Before it was 256. I just brought it down to 100 to keep things pretty short. And then the temperature, this is simply the creativity of our model. So 1 is going to be super creative, and 0 will be basically gives you the same answer every single time. Once you have, you can mess around with these. These are pretty good to get started. Simply press continue. And then you can test this just to make sure that it has the right tone that you want. Once you're happy, the third and final step is to actually reply to, or like take the response from ChatGPT and then send it back over to reply to the customer. All you have to do is into actions. The one thing you want to make sure of is there's a bunch of different data here. What you want to use as the review name is the thing that says review name. That's it. Otherwise, it glitches out. I'm not exactly sure why, but this is a solution that we found worked for us the best. And then the reply is simply, if you go in ChatGPT, the reply, which is right here. And that is pretty much it. Press continue, test it out, make sure it works well, publish it, and you're good to go. If you're wondering what type of response these things generate compared to something like GoHighLevel, here you can test it right here. To press continue, and then the response that it gave was right here. As you can see, it's a lot longer, it's a lot more in depth, and you can also customize it a lot more. Like if I want to mention a specific point, or if I want it to be super long and detailed, I can do that. I can't do that with HighLevel. It's literally it's using ChatGPT, but within your Google My Business reviews. But that's pretty much how you set up automatic replies to Google My Business reviews. It's not super complex, as you can see. There's two different ways. One of them is just a lot simpler, a lot faster. The other one is takes a bit more time, but you also have a lot more control over the actual outcome of what is being said.